Stop for a second before you keep moving through whatever else is waiting for you today. I want to tell you something that has nothing to do with productivity, nothing to do with self-improvement checklists, nothing to do with becoming a better version of yourself by next month. I want to tell you something simpler and I think more important. You are allowed to just be exactly who you are right now, tired or not, unfinished or not, and still be worth something. Stay with me for a few minutes because I think this is exactly the reminder you have been needing without fully realizing it. There is a strange kind of pressure that follows so many of us through ordinary life, a quiet, constant sense that we should be further along by now, more accomplished, more sure of ourselves, more settled into a version of our life that finally feels like it fits. And underneath that pressure sits an even quieter belief, one we rarely say out loud, the belief that we have to earn our right to feel okay. That rest, peace, and self-acceptance are prizes waiting somewhere on the other side of enough achievement, and until we reach them, we are supposed to keep pushing, keep striving, keep treating our current selves as an unfinished draft not yet worthy of full acceptance. I want to challenge that belief directly because I think it quietly damages more lives than almost anything else we carry. You are not a draft. You are not a rough version of some final, more acceptable self waiting somewhere in the future. You are a complete, whole human being right now, in this exact moment, with everything you have already lived through, everything you are still learning, everything you have not yet figured out. Completeness was never about having everything sorted. It was always about being fully present inside whatever stage of the process you are currently in. I think about how differently we treat other people compared to how we treat ourselves. If a friend told you they felt lost, uncertain about their direction, still figuring out who they wanted to become, you would never tell them they are not allowed to feel okay until they have it all figured out. You would tell them that uncertainty is part of being human, that everyone is figuring it out as they go, that there is no secret group of fully arrived people who have transcended doubt and confusion entirely. You would offer them patience, and yet somehow we rarely offer that same patience to ourselves, holding ourselves to a standard of certainty and completion that we would never dream of demanding from anyone else. I want to talk about the specific relief that comes from finally admitting you do not have to have it all figured out today. Not your career, not your relationships, not your 5-year plan, not the deeper question of who you actually are underneath everything you have built to survive and succeed in a demanding world. You are allowed to still be discovering that, slowly, imperfectly, one honest year at a time. Nobody arrives at a fixed, finished identity and simply stays there for the rest of their life. Growth does not stop at some magic age where everything suddenly clicks into place. It continues quietly for as long as you are alive, which means the uncertainty you are carrying right now is not a sign that something has gone wrong. It is simply evidence that you are still actively becoming. I want to say something about the specific exhaustion of constantly measuring yourself against other people, because I think it is one of the heaviest, most invisible weights so many of us carry without even realizing how much energy it drains. Every time you compare your unfinished, complicated, three-dimensional life to someone else's polished, filtered, two-dimensional highlight reel, you lose a little more trust in your own path. You start to believe that everyone else has figured out something you have not, that their confidence is real while your uncertainty is somehow uniquely your own failure rather than simply the shared condition of being human. I want to remind you that everyone you have ever admired for their apparent ease with life has their own private version of doubt, their own quiet fears, their own moments of feeling completely lost, even if you never see those moments from the outside. Comparison only works because it compares your full reality to someone else's carefully selected highlight, and that comparison was never actually fair to begin with. You are not behind. You are simply living your own specific life at your own specific pace, shaped by your own specific circumstances, and that path was never meant to match anyone else's timeline in the first place. I want to talk about the quiet courage it takes to be kind to yourself, especially on the days you feel like you do not deserve it. So many of us have learned somewhere along the way that self-criticism is what keeps us disciplined, that if we stop being hard on ourselves, we will become lazy, complacent, unmotivated. But I want to offer you a different way of understanding this. Harsh self-criticism does not actually produce lasting growth. It produces fear, and fear produces avoidance, hiding, and a desperate need to protect yourself from ever feeling that exposed again. Compassion, real compassion, the kind you would offer someone you love deeply, does something entirely different. It says, yes, this is hard, and yes, you fell short, and you are still worthy of trying again. That sentence does not remove accountability. It simply refuses to let a single moment of falling short become a permanent verdict about your entire worth. I want to talk about the specific ache of feeling unseen, even by the people who love you most, because I think it is one of the quieter, more common forms of loneliness that most of us carry without ever naming it clearly. It is possible to be surrounded by people, to have a full calendar, a busy social life, a family who loves you, and still feel like no one has actually seen the full, unedited version of who you are underneath the roles you play. If this describes any part of your life, I want you to know that this ache does not mean you are unlovable. It usually means that somewhere along the way you learned that being fully seen was risky, and so you built a smaller, safer version of yourself to offer the world instead. That version was never dishonest exactly, just incomplete, a survival strategy rather than a betrayal. I want to gently invite you, if there is even one person in your life who has earned the right to see you more fully, to consider offering them that chance, slowly in small pieces, rather than waiting for some perfect moment where full honesty finally feels safe enough to attempt all at once. Being known, even imperfectly, even by just one person, is one of the most healing experiences available to a human being, and it usually begins with a single small act of honesty rather than some dramatic, complete unveiling. I want to talk about the specific power of simply continuing, even when continuing does not feel particularly inspired or motivated. So much of what actually builds a meaningful life happens not during moments of passionate inspiration, but during the quiet, unremarkable stretches where you keep showing up anyway, without dramatic feeling, simply because you decided, at some point, that this mattered enough to keep doing even on the days it did not feel exciting. I want you to notice if you are in one of those unremarkable stretches right now that continuing through it is not a sign of failure. It is in fact exactly how meaningful things actually get built, quietly, patiently, through consistency rather than through constant inspiration. I want to say something about the specific gift hiding inside your own struggles, not to romanticize suffering, but to offer a different way of relating to it. Every difficulty you have ever moved through has left you with something, even if that something is simply a slightly deeper capacity for empathy, a slightly sharper understanding of what actually matters, a slightly more accurate sense of your own resilience. This does not mean every difficulty is worth the pain it caused, and I would never suggest that suffering is simply a disguised blessing. But I do think it is worth noticing, honestly, what your struggles have actually taught you, because that noticing transforms you from someone things merely happen to into someone who has metabolized what happened into something usable, something that continues to serve you even after the original difficulty is past. I want to leave you with something simple before we close. You do not need to wait for some future, more accomplished version of yourself before you are allowed to feel proud of who you are right now. You do not need permission from anyone else to rest, to be gentle with yourself, to trust that you are doing better than your harshest internal voice usually gives you credit for. You are allowed to be exactly where you are, imperfect, still figuring things out, still healing from things you have not fully processed yet, and still entirely worthy of the same patience, respect, and care you so easily offer to everyone else in your life. So take a breath. Let your shoulders drop from wherever they have been holding tension, and whatever today still holds for you, walk into it a little more gently than you walked into yesterday, trusting that you are enough exactly as you are, right now, in this exact, ordinary, entirely real moment. I want to add one more thought before I let you go, because I think it belongs here, close to the end, where it has the best chance of actually staying with you. I want to talk about the specific relief of releasing the pressure to have a dramatic, cinematic life in order for it to count as meaningful. We live inside a culture that constantly celebrates the extraordinary, the record breakers, the overnight transformations, the lives that look, from the outside, like a highlight reel with no boring parts. And absorbing this constant stream of extraordinary examples can quietly convince you that an ordinary life, a life of steady work, quiet love, simple joys, and modest progress, is somehow falling short by comparison. I want to offer you a different way of seeing this. Most meaningful lives, the ones that actually matter to the people living them and to the people who love them, are built from deeply ordinary moments. A meal cooked with care, a conversation where someone finally felt heard, a promise kept even when it was inconvenient. You do not need to be extraordinary to live a life that matters. You need to be present, honest, and willing to keep showing up for the people and the work in front of you, even on the days it feels unremarkable. The extraordinary life, if it comes at all, is usually just the ordinary life, practiced with consistency and integrity over a very long time. I want to talk about the quiet strength it takes to keep hoping, even after disappointment, even after life has already shown you more than once that good things are not guaranteed. If you are still hoping tonight for anything, despite everything that has already let you down along the way, I want you to recognize that as genuine strength, not naivety. It takes real courage to keep believing that something good is still possible, especially after being disappointed before. The easier path would have been to protect yourself by expecting less. You did not choose that path, and I think that says something quietly remarkable about you. I want to remind you one more time that you are not required to have a perfect relationship with yourself in order to still be worthy of kindness from yourself. You can be in the middle of struggling with your own self-worth and still deserve gentleness in that exact struggle. You do not need to fully love yourself before you are allowed to treat yourself with basic respect and patience. That respect is available to you right now, in this exact imperfect moment, not reserved for some future version of you who has finally sorted everything out. Before I truly let you go, I want to say this clearly because I think it is easy to hear all of this and still walk away unchanged unless you actually let one piece of it move from your mind into your life. So choose one thing, just one, small enough that you can actually do it today. Maybe it is speaking to yourself a little more gently the next time you make a mistake. Maybe it is finally telling someone the truth you have been holding back. Maybe it is simply allowing yourself to rest without guilt, even for 10 minutes, without needing to earn it first. Whatever it is, let it be small and let it be real, because a single honest choice, however small, is how an entire relationship with yourself slowly begins to change.
You are not behind, you are not broken, you are not too far gone to become who you actually want to be. You are simply here, right now, in the middle of your own becoming, and that, more than any achievement or milestone, is genuinely enough. And if today turns out to be hard, if the old doubts creep back in before this feeling even has a chance to settle, I want you to remember that you can return to this same simple truth as many times as you need to. It does not expire after one reading. It is not a one-time fix that stops working once the day gets difficult again. It is something you are allowed to come back to again and again, every single time you forget it, for as long as you need reminding. You are enough, not because you have proven it, but simply because you exist, trying, caring, still here. That has always been enough, even on the days it did not feel like it.